It is time for Bet On It, brought to you by Warhorse Sportsbook, the best place in Nebraska to place your sports bets, whether it's at the casino in Lincoln or in Omaha. They've got you covered, whether it's straight bets, parlays, props, whatever nonsense DB's throwing at you.
Props.
He's got you covered as well. He's
nonsense.
Well, witchcraft is what I like to call it, because you're coming up with stuff that nobody in their right mind should come up with, and coming up winners. But get to warhorse.casino.com for a full list of promotions and house rules.
Wasn't yesterday hilarious? The two worst lines on the card.
Yep.
Were what?
Omaha, South Dakota State.
Yep.
Because that was wild.
Yep.
And then
the one I gave you.
Jacksonville State.
Yep.
Yeah.
So J-State was.
So that one's always weird. Anytime it crosses 0, I get uncomfy.
I know.
I don't listen, you're better at this than I am. Like 100%. No, you are. You're better at this than I am. But anytime a number crosses 0, it's red flags. I stay away. I'm just out. I'm out. I'm just out.
You skirt.
Yeah. If the number crosses 0, I'm out.
Yeah. So, and it was just, so we always go back and forth. Mm-hmm. You'll say, man, I'm just going to take the easy money. I was like, nah, the line isn't right.
Yeah. Is the line right versus is it free money?
And so yesterday with Jackson State, playing a team with a losing record. Jacksonville State was playing at an all right clip. Line didn't seem right.
Mm-hmm.
You would have played Jackson State as well, right? Just, I'm going to take the money.
If it hadn't crossed 0, yes. Yeah.
The other one was SDSU and
Omaha.
And if I didn't like Omaha, I'd have been like, that line's not right.
Yes. Because
Omaha's on a heater.
You asked me yesterday, and I go...
Yeah, I asked you what... This is off here.
Okay, yeah, and I go, I think it's at South Dakota State. I probably go, they're a favorite by... I wanted to say 2.5. I thought it was too much, so I said 1.5. And the number was 9.5.
Yep.
And I wasn't crazy, was I? It probably should have been 2.5-ish.
And I told our mutual friend, the balding guy, the number's big for a reason. So I picked wrong.
Yeah.
One held true to your form.
Yep.
The other
held true
to mine.
Because in that situation, I probably would have gone, that feels like free money. I'm taking Omaha.
Yeah, Sam Houston had they had 9 wins.
So here's the other thing that's a little tricky here, right? Is with these smaller conferences,
which I like,
historically, you can get some lines that are wrong. That's why I used to really like them. When I did this more,
100% with you.
I used to crush Missouri Valley because Creighton was in it. So
how do you know how do you get into all the player props and stuff?
Oh, I don't do player props in small college.
Okay. Just
if I've got an inkling on some of the bigger games, I'll do a player prop. I'll do a player prop on a bigger game before I'll do a line, because I think typically the less played stuff has more value, in my opinion. That's why I would like to go to the smaller conferences. I used to crush Missouri Valley when Creighton was there because I knew them super well, and then I watched a ton of Mountain West basketball because I would stay up late. So I was really good at Mountain West and I was really good at Missouri Valley, but especially back then, this is a few years ago, the lines tended not to be as accurate.
Yeah.
We might be getting to the point where there's so much exposure that most of the lines are pretty good now. Because even 3 years ago, if I'd gotten...
I went, my own opposite theory on taking Sam Houston.
Yeah. If you had...
everything said take Sam Houston.
If this,
no business with that.
If this Omaha South Dakota State line had been 9.5 and we're in the year... I don't know, how long has sports gambling been legal in Iowa? 5 years?
Oh, more than that.
Is it? So let's just go 5 years ago. If that had been the line 5 years ago, I would have been like, oh, hammering that. That is, they don't know the Summit League this year.
I don't want to say that because I'm assuming that if you can have casinos, you can have sports gambling.
That wasn't accurate.
Okay, so don't let me just.
I know it was pre-COVID because I went to the sports book pre-COVID, so I remember that. But it was. Because I remember I placed a bet on the 49ers, the first Super Bowl they played with Jimmy Garoppolo. So
I smell bet.
So that's the only reason I remember that. But 5 years ago, I'd have gone there and I go, oh, they don't know that Omaha's on a heater. They're taking South Dakota State, historically really good and really good at home. That's free money.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't trust that anymore because they're getting really, really dialed in on these lines.
Let me give you a tricky one.
Okay?
Have you looked at anything?
Not today, no.
Okay. UCLA is on the road in Bloomington. Bloomington coming off the win
Big win
in East Lansing.
against Michigan State.
As Matt DeMarinis would say, Indiana? Question mark. Which was one of the,
That's a quote.
which was one of the greatest non saying anything text
But saying everything.
Indiana?
Question mark?
What would you make? What would Ravi Lulla make that line?
Okay, so UCLA coming off a loss at Indiana, coming off a win.
You're fighting Mick Cronin's.
My fighting Mick Cronin's. I'm still going. UCLA needs to be favored there. I think not a big number though. Traveling cross country, I'm gonna go.
I mean, it's a joke.
UCLA minus 3.5.
It is 1.5 UCLA.
Ooh, a little lower than I would think.
The
1.5.
Gets,
A little lower than I would think. See, that's a spot. So with a number that small, I'm just going to play the money line.
I would too.
Like regardless of how I feel. Because if I like,
It's going to be a smidge.
it's going to be a little bit
Juicy.
Yeah, not a ton, but a little bit.
Yeah.
You probably look like minus 130, something like that.
5.
Okay, so I'll take that's not huge. For my 1.5 points, I'll take that.
All right, you're like our
As
other,
opposed to
you're,
minus.
You're like our other rich trust fund baby.
I don't need a tunnel to walk out on the court.
pressing.
So, but I mean,
I don't care if I'm paying $11 for eggs, DB. I need eggs.
Hear the words.
I really don't eat eggs that much anymore. But I mean, because you're gonna pay minus.
That's what he says to me.
You're gonna pay minus 110 anyway, so minus 135 to not have to worry about the point, I think is worth it. But if you like Indiana plus the 1.5, just go ahead and get a little plus money on the money line there. Like in anything under 2 points, I'm just gonna play money line.
Yeah. So you think coming off the win, the loss, dangerous Indiana. I think you'd have to play UCLA on the money line.
Indiana sucks.
It's
like I'm sorry. Like I get that,
but so does the line.
It does. No, you're right. But like that's one of those.
What would Kenneth? What does Kenneth make?
Kenneth Pomeroy.
Yeah. What does one Kenneth?
My guy Ken Pomeroy.
Yeah.
All right. So UCLA at Indiana tonight. He's got it a 2-point game, so it's right on.
It's incredible.
Yeah, I don't trust. I don't trust Indiana or Mike Woodson as far as I can throw them.
They're completely delusional about who
that man's like, hey guys, I'm leaving at the end of the year. I'm only saying I'm telling you this halfway through the season, but hang in there with me.
And all of a sudden, everybody finds out they leave and they have their best win of the season. Coincidence?
I think not.
Maybe Mike Woodson does suck. I don't know. They had lost 5 in a row before that, and then they go and get not just 5 in a row. They had lost 7 of 8.
Yeah.
Their only win coming OT at Ohio State. Yeah, that feels stinky. That's stinky cheese.
I'm gonna keep it simple and I'll give it to you.
What do we got today?
I think you got to take St. Louis on the road.
Ooh, my fighting Robbie Avila.
Yeah, on the road, and it's against. I know it's Jaden Dawson and guy I have a little of a affinity for in Loyola Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
It's just 2.5. Ricola. Give me St. Louis.
You want the Billikens?
Yeah, but I would also take if I like your rationale. I just
on the money line.
Yeah, with UCLA.
Yeah, no, like I said, anything under 2 points, I'm taking the money line. If I like it, like so that one I would take my minus 135 on UCLA.
I don't. So we do disagree though. If I could if I'm getting 2, and it's marginal, I don't know if I would always take the plus money line if I wanted the dog. Sometimes I want the 2 points.
Up to 2. I mean,
basketball is certainly different than football because you do get 1-point games. In basketball, I mean, there's so many games. Anecdotally, are there a lot of 1-point wins and losses?
Not really.
Doesn't seem like it.
I mean, like in the grand scheme of things, there's not.
So I would want the 2-point cushion, I think.
Yeah, so 1.5, like
especially if we're only talking about like $10.
I'm talking under 2. So 1.5, 1, or obviously pick them because they don't do half-point spreads.
You probably could convince me in hoops.
But you don't get to a lot of just like two
Not so much in football.
evens.
Though. Especially with all these yahoos going for 2 and
Yeah,
stuff.
it's harder to predict what
Stuff
the
gets
margins are going to be.
Screwed up.
But yeah, anything under 2, just give me my money line.
Yeah.
Especially if I like the favorite. Just give me my money line.
You're my second trust fund baby friend. Ravi Lulla. Here for all the juice and all the plus money.
If I got a trust fund, ain't nobody told me about it. That's DBM Ravi Lulla. It's Bet On It, brought to you by War Sportsbook.